Hello, 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 and welcome back to the CoCo Blend Podcast. I am your host, Jamie Newton Knight, and I am blessed to have yet another amazing guest with me today, Dr. Samantha. Clap it up. How are you, Dr. Samantha? How are you today?
I am doing fantastic. No complaints on my end. I'm glad to be here and thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you so much for being a guest. I always like to kind of sort of give people some background on how I know people. So, Dr. Samantha and I met at an amazing conference called Mamathon. And I feel like I'm never in a space where I meet people coincidentally.
Mm.
Everything is God ordained. And when we sat together and just started chatting it up, I was like, oh, yes, we definitely will be having conversations outside of this conference.
That is
And,
true.
and we definitely have been. So, again, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I want you to introduce yourself to the people, tell them who you are, where you're from, whatever information you'd like to share about you and your blended family.
All right. Well, again, thank you, Jamie, for having me on the show. As she indicated, we met at a conference, but I'm the CEO and founder of Prevailing Woman Ministries. I am married to my husband, Joshua, of 16 years. We have a blended family, but I also am the product of a blended family. And so we're going to talk about the dynamics of the world I live in, mainly growing up as a child. I am the oldest. I have three brothers, and they're all as a result of a blended family. So I grew up with my mom and my daddy, Sam. And then I grew up with Mama Joyce and my dad, Eugene. And I have three brothers in this dynamic, and I have grown up probably the most blessed young woman in the world as a consequence of the relationships that I've had from my blended family. So we'll get into it. So, yeah.
That is beautiful. And are you a bio mom, a bonus mom, both?
Bonus. I don't have any children of my own, but my husband has a daughter, and she and her husband have two daughters. And so I am a Gigi as well. And so have a great relationship with her, with my husband's daughter and her husband. And so they're part of our blended family as well. And we get to love on those granddaughters of ours. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So, what I love about this connection is that I'm constantly having conversations with people who are co-parenting um, or in a blended family. And so what made this conversation with Dr. Samantha unique was that she was a child that grew up in a blended family. And so I thought that having that perspective was going to be a powerful one, especially when people sometimes you look at the situation that you're in right now, the space you're in right now, and you don't think long term of what the effects will be on your child. And so I would love for you to share your story of how it felt for you growing up in a blended family. And just go ahead and share your story. I'm going to try to mute myself so that you don't hear me in the background going, yes. And
Well, the irony of this situation is that I didn't grow up having an understanding that it was a quote unquote blended family. So this terminology that that Jamie is using really was foreign to me as a child. I just knew that I had mama and daddy over here that I had grown up with, from the time I was born. And then at some point, probably when I was in the second grade, I became aware that the person I'd been in the house with that had raised me, Daddy Sam, and I'm going to use those terms so people can know the distinction and know which parent I'm talking about. I did not know that there was a biological father in the situation at all until I was in the second grade. And so my biological father had been in the military, and he was out of the country. And so when he came back, that's when I learned that, my dad, Eugene, was my biological father, and that he had a wife and he had a son. And I had a whole new family that I probably grew up near them. We were probably 15 minutes apart and just never knew it. And so we were within close proximity of each other, and I just didn't know that they existed until then. At that point, we began, me visiting. I started visiting them and spending time and getting to know them, and developed a really, really close relationship with my mama Joyce. She is my, she's my stepmom, but she's Mama Joyce to me. I don't call her that. But and so over time, all of them, we just started doing life together somewhere along the lines, which is strange, and which is what makes my story of a blended family very different from most, because I didn't grow up having this baby mama drama that people hear about today. I didn't grow up seeing friction or animosity or any of those kinds of issues with either of my parents. My dads were just cool. My moms were just cool. They did life in a small community together, where I'm sure people, often looked at them very differently because they couldn't understand how they could even have a decent relationship, let alone a friendship, as a result of recognizing that I existed and I came as a result of the dynamics, of my dad being with somebody else and here my mom. And so none of them were married when I was born, but at the same time, they got married shortly thereafter. And so we just did life together. And so my life has been deeply enriched as a result of the family I acquired, not by my own choosing. And so one of the things that made it great, even in reflecting on having a conversation about it, with you, is both my mom and my mama Joyce they are friends, people. Let me just be real clear. And they both told me that there was no need, to have any animosity towards each other, because it wasn't my fault. I did nothing wrong. And so there was an intentional effort to ensure that they had a good relationship with each other to this day. And so I love them dearly. They stand in the gap. If one mom can't make it, the other one says, well, you go. And it has been like that all of my life. They've shown up at events, graduation, school plays, you name it. My moms were there, and do church together, fellowship together. It has been all of that. It's kind of surreal, but that is the life that I have been fortunate to have.
How blessed are you? And were you as a child, right? To be able to have all that love and like, I always think about the people who don't want their children to like the new person, right? So they go through life with this, you're already mad at the dad because your relationship didn't work out. But then you meet he moves on, he has a new girlfriend, and you don't want your child to have a relationship with that person. That happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think about how much more love children can have when they're able to love everybody that's in the situation. So I feel like you were extremely blessed to be able to not just have all those people there to support you and love on you, but to feel as a child that you didn't have to suppress or pretend like, oh, I don't like mommy's, new boyfriend or husband, or I didn't like dad's new girlfriend. Like, you were able to just love freely.
That is true. That is really true. I have absolutely no memory of anyone trying to compel me, particularly like my mom, trying to compel me to feel any other way towards my mama Joyce. Never a time in my entire life where I needed to worry about, well, if I go visit them and they do this with me, and just because we can do this with them and I can't do it over here, I just didn't have experiences where it was ever a debate about my affections or how I needed to feel or any negative talk. Like there was none of that. And I say that because I know today that what I witness with other people who don't have or experience what I had growing up, I know that mothers can really speak a lot of negativity into their child's ear about their father or about their father's wife or girlfriend or whomever they may be. And that impacts and influences how they relate to them. And so the kids get attitudes and all of those things. I never had that. I never had to worry about that. And no one ever spoke negatively about anyone ever. And that just wasn't my experience. And people will say, "Oh, sure, you're making that up." I am not making that up. That is my real, honest to God experience. That there was never a need. Um, Now, the only thing that was challenging for my mama Joyce is that she didn't do hair. Like she couldn't comb my hair, growing up, and so she had to find somebody. She's like, "Look, you either send her with some braids in her hair or somebody's going to have to do her hair." But other than that, she just didn't do hair. She wasn't a hair person. She had a son. And so that was the worst. It's like, okay, she had to make sure my hair was done when I got there. Or or my aunt, she'd have to take me to my aunt, let somebody do my hair. But other than that, I did not have any of those experiences. I was extremely blessed in the sense that, take every year getting ready for school. Then you got this family who would take you shopping, to get school clothes at the beginning of the year. So I never lacked. I mean, I didn't like anything. I just didn't. And to this day, the age that I am, I can depend on both of them. And when my mother was going through a season where her husband was really sick and she could not travel, and I had some major events going on in my life. I was getting recognized here in the community for works I had done in this community, and my mom couldn't make it. And so my mom was adamant that somebody be here. And so she was like, "Your mama Joyce has to come. At
Oh,
least one of your moms has to be there for you." And that has happened multiple times where, they fill in the gap. And so that I'm not lacking support, at seasons in my life when I have needed it or wanted it, from my parents. And so it's been an amazing journey. I mean, I had no idea, that this is how life would be. But it also comes with challenges when you acquire all these people that love you. My youngest brother, I have three brothers, like I said, and my youngest brother is a 10-year age gap with us. And so he told me, he said, "You know what? When you come home, you have a different kind of problem." He says, "You know how some people come home, and because we live in Georgia and I was raised in Mississippi, that's where all of the majority of my immediate family are located." And he said, "When you all come home, everybody wants to see you. You all aren't like those people that come home and people are like, okay, here comes so and so." He's like, "Everybody wants to see you all." So that creates a dynamic because it's only one of me. And then you got that parent, this family, that family. You got all of these people, and you're just pulled in a lot of different directions. And as a child, you land where you land because you don't control how you get to your place. But as an
right.
adult, my husband and I, and it took some adjusting for him because he's like, "Why can't you just go one place and everybody show up?" I said, "Yeah, it doesn't work like that." I said, "Because that's just not how life is for us." I said, "Because all of these people, are in different places now. And so I have to adjust life to accommodate them because they want to see me. And I'm not always able to make everybody happy as I've gotten older.
Right.
But I try to show up in the ways in which I can. So it came with its challenges, but the journey towards this it's been nothing but beautiful. I mean, my dad and my stepdad walked me down the aisle when I got married. I mean, so it was Daddy Sam and Daddy Eugene, and that I wouldn't have had it any other way. It was one thing I knew that when I got married, the one thing I knew that I wanted is I wanted both my dads to walk me down the aisle, and they did.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Look, the fact that I think it's funny that you were like, people don't believe that there was no drama or that your moms got along or that, like, and you're like, listen, well, I didn't experience that. And I think that that's really a noble thing. I think that takes a lot of maturity, but it also shows that the people in your life were like, regardless of what our circumstances are, regardless of what our situation is, we're going to put this child first. And we're going to make it so that this child doesn't have to experience anything out of the ordinary. And
Right.
so it's hard for others to believe that you didn't see or you didn't know that there was drama going on in the background, because people want to believe that it's always all bad. And in some situations where people know that the child is the most important, they just don't do that.
And it is an unfortunate set of circumstances. And I think you said it best earlier when you talked about the amount of love that a child could experience if the adults could just get it together. And I mean, you think about it. I have these three brothers, and even though there are different fathers associated with us under this scenario, my brothers just decided that, well, you're the common denominator with all of us. So we're just going to tell everybody that we're all brothers. And because they didn't want to confuse people, but they decided when they were out in public, it's a small area, this tri-county community where a lot of people know everybody, but mainly my family is known in the town where they were, and then within 15 minutes of them, then the other side of the family, they were known. And so it was easier just for them when they're out in public and engaging and socializing. Oh yeah, well, that's my sister. Well, she's my sister too. Well, we're just brothers, they and I learned that later on, that they just decided that they would just tell everybody, well, we're just brothers.
They were like, it's simpler this way.
It's just simpler this way rather than trying to explain it all to everyone. But it has been, but the unfortunate thing for people who have not, had what I've experienced, I'll be honest with you. I think my story is pretty unique because I honestly have never heard of anyone having the kind of relationship and dynamic that I have been fortunate to have. And I really never thought anything of it because I never wondered about, what other people's childhood was like. I just know what mine was like. And even to this day, you look back and you think about, well, it could have gone a lot of different ways. But like my mom and Mama
Sure
Joyce,
could.
they talk to each other on a regular basis. They share items if one has resources. I'm telling you, it is a strange dynamic. I remember when I was in graduate school and I'd gone through a breakup. I had come home. I was heartbroken. My mom I went to grad school at the University of Missouri, and we had to drive back, and they didn't want me to drive back by myself. I drove my car. My mama Joyce and my mom, they trailed me all the way back to Missouri. And I remember I was speeding. And this is the funny stuff. They flagged me down somewhere in Tennessee. And my mama Joyce got out and she said, "You better slow down right now." So she had the same authority as my mom had to put me in my place, because so they drove all the way to Missouri, with me together. When
Right.
married, my daddy Sam rode with Mama Joyce and my dad, to Greenville, South Carolina, where I got married. I mean, like, this has been my life. It has always been, if something happened to either one of their family members, you show up for funerals, you show up to support. It's just been like that my whole life. And that has not changed, even at this stage of my life, if something were to happen. And
That
it
is
was
pretty
hard.
beautiful. And like you said, you said people think that it's unique, but it's also, it could be weird for others because they're like, oh, you call her mom. What does your mom think? But your mom is cool with it. And she's like, matter of fact, I can't be at this event. Call your other mom and tell her to come and support you because I can't be there. The
Yeah.
fact that they lean on each other in those spaces too, so that you're still that you still have that support.
It is a really, really interesting dynamic. And I think because I have grown up so close to both of them, and like I said, I'm the only girl, and I'm my mama Joyce's only girl. And so she had a battle. She went through some health challenges. And because of the nature of that illness, when she came out of surgery, I was right there I stayed with her for the whole time immediately following her surgery and her discharge, and to take care of her. And it was no big deal. I don't even think I physically saw my mother that week. And we were 15, 20 minutes apart, but she knew when I came in town that my main reason for being in town was to look after her. And there was
Right.
no issue about that whatsoever. So if anybody wanted to see me, they had to show up there. And because we were still coming out of a COVID season, I put my foot down. I would not let people see her if I didn't think it was in her best interest, or else I didn't care who they were.
I know that's
Oh yeah. I was like, I'm going to go back to Georgia. I said, I don't care who's mad. I am here. And the bottom line is, you're not going to have all these visitors. Well, I
right.
just give her a hug. Well, you can.
This ain't the time for that.
Not the time for it.
Mm-mm.
So I took authority pretty much like she would have done for me if she was taking care of me and here visiting me and I was sick. She would put her foot down. And so I just put my foot down with everybody who wanted to see her, because I'm like, that's my mama Joyce.
That's
And
right.
she has gone through a major ordeal and she does not need to see all of you all. And so I thought,
Y'all can wait.
y'all, hey,
Call her on the phone.
call her on the phone, all of that. But the lesson, for me, and for people who, wish or who would listen, to my story and say, wow, that is a remarkable thing. That is pretty, almost unbelievable. That's just not how it is with this current generation of moms and dads and kids. And it is still very possible for people to have that, but it would require some pivoting on the part of the adults, particularly if you have younger children. And to me, it's about pride. When you operate any other way, it's about pride, and it is about control. And sometimes it's just downright petty. And I'm just going to call it what it is, petty. And the other word I would say is insecurity, because I think all of those pieces play a significant role in any individual's capacity to get past the personal differences and not be able to focus on the well-being and the health of a child. And so I think that my parents, they just didn't have the bandwidth for it at the point in which, it was just so unnecessary, because it was enough that, okay, everybody's making a life adjustment. They're adjusting to having a little girl in their life that they didn't have up until now. And my daddy Sam was adjusting. Well, he knew all along that I wasn't his biological child, but he raised me as his own, and I'm named after him. So all of this everything was, clear. Like nobody went into anything with any deception, right? And so,
Right.
having said all of that, is people making up in their minds that, why do you want to penalize somebody? Like, why would you put a child through any degree of suffering that's unnecessary for them? Like, let them be happy, let them have joy, let them experience, you know, the situation is difficult enough, but when you decide that it requires a degree of humility and say, okay, I'm going to put my own personal feelings aside, because what does this child need? And that is one of the main things that I know that my family was able to do to ensure that life was good for me. I mean, Christmas was fantastic. I mean, birthdays, fantastic. And that's just the material side of it. But I also got to experience life, differently, because it was different from one household to the next, and so everybody had different traditions. And so I was able to engage in two different worlds, but also experienced the same magnitude of love regardless. And so nothing was missing and nothing was lacking. And, and it was just good for me. I can look back on it and think of it as just the best of both worlds in many respects.
Yeah, that sounds like a beautiful experience to have, to just, like I said, just to be able to be a kid, to just show up, to just love everybody and have everybody love on you. And just like you said, some of it, yeah, some of it's the material stuff, but then there's all the other benefits that you get behind it too. And just like I said, having that support, having that support system, the stability, knowing that you have all these people that you can lean on, everybody being in sync with what's going on, nobody's like side talking about you know what I'm saying? So I think that was a beautiful way to experience a growing up in a blended family. And the fact that you were like, I didn't even know I was in a blended family. Everybody just was so cool with each other.
Yeah. And let me tell you, so I knew I had acquired. So, when I started visiting my dad and Mama Joyce, so I realized that my grandparents has had 8 children. So it was 4 boys and 4 girls. And so now I have this new, really, really, really big family that I didn't have. And then on my mom's side of the family, my mom had, it was 5 of them. And then my daddy, Sam, I've been around them my whole life, and I almost am certain that it was 8 of them as well. So, and then my mama Joyce's family, oh, I have to start counting all of the siblings that she had. Like, it was probably like 8 or 9 of them, I'm pretty sure. So I grew from just having this to like this massive amount of uncles and aunts and cousins that I mean, grandparents. It was just a huge shift in my world. And the beauty about it is, they all loved me. They all took me in. They all embraced me. They all accepted me. And that was a good thing. But I also got to do life differently in the sense that I think I may have been shy at one point, and then being around all of these people helped me develop different socialization skills because it required me to adjust, to get to know people and to let people get to know me. Um, I also had new bodyguards, people that were going to look out. I had new people who were going to look out for me and make sure that nothing happened to me and that no one, would mess with me. I can clearly remember, this is a true story. So I remember getting bullied when I was younger. And one of the guys that was bullying me turned out to be a relative of my mama Joyce. And when I told her who the bully was, well, guess what happened? That got nipped in the bud really quickly. Because had no idea, that this woman that had come into my life was also going to be the very woman who intervened, to ensure that this person, from her side of the family would no longer, I mean, I didn't know she intervened. I just know that it didn't continue, And so, so I have a lot of her personality in me, like the assertive nature that I've been able to take because I've been able to watch her, just like I watch my mom, operate. And so, and my mother even tells me, she says, you have some of Joy saying in you right about now. But that's nothing to argue with or be mad. It's actually a compliment because I have been able to take on, aspects of both of their identities as part of my personality. And that makes me happy because I know that some of the things I do, I'm sure I got it from one or the other in some capacity. And so, but having my grandmothers, and this is the stuff that parents, this generation of parents, if they could get past all these other things. I mean, I was able to, I got all these grandparents. So my one grandmother, she lived to be 94. We just celebrated my other grandmother who is just turned 90. You think about, the ways in which, your family life can be enriched or your children's life can be enriched when you get past yourself. And then one of the questions that people should really ask, like, what is it that is problematic for me about this person, other than the fact I can't be with the man or the woman that I made this child with? Like, what else is there? Like, what else is there? And how do you get past, your personal feelings about this person? Now, there are some things, like if there were safety concerns or things like that, then for sure, that's real easy. That's a no-brainer. But if it's none of that and it's just personal differences and personalities, you don't like that they drive, a nice car, you don't like that, whatever your reason is, all the petty things that you can come up with, then you still should be asking yourself, why would I not want my child to connect with the very person that's a part of one of their parents' lives? Just why?
Yep, put all your ego, adult stuff to the side so that kids can just be. Because they don't want to have to pick between you anyway as parents. They don't want to have to choose. They just want to show up and be able to love everybody. But, sometimes parents, grown adults, make it hard for them to be able to do that.
They
But
do. They do.
I love that you have, like you said, you have like different parts of each person's personality, or, you took parts of them and they're like, oh yeah, that's your Mama Joyce right there. And that your own mom can say it to you, like, oh yeah, I see it. Mm-hmm.
That is so true. That is,
And that there's no, like I said, and that there's no any, like, your mom doesn't feel a way about it. That's
no,
the beauty. That's the best part.
she does not. And obviously, as a mom, you want to be able to be there for every major moment, in your child's life. But sometimes things happen that that could prevent that from occurring. And so I admire my mother for being in a space and a place where she she could be okay with not being present to the degree that she can. Not that it didn't hurt her to not be present, especially when I was getting an award, and it was a really nice community award, and the fact that she couldn't be there, it wasn't that it didn't bother her that she couldn't be there, but she knew that if she couldn't, that I did have someone who would, and so that's always special. And so anytime, she'll have her own personal feelings, but at the end of the day, it's not a personal feeling against anyone. It's a feeling of, I still wish I could have been there, even though my circumstances would not prevent it. But that's any mom, any feeling. But what that has also taught me in watching them is that even as I got married and my husband had a daughter, and she was already, my husband's daughter was an adult when we got married. So it wasn't any, trying to help raise her. She was already an adult, and she has a great relationship with her mother. And then by the time, she and her husband had children, we had to decide, how we're going to navigate life. And so, but I always kept thinking about, how was I treated? How did Mama Joyce, take me in? How did my mom engage, with, uh, her husband's children? How did we make all of this work? And so there was some intentional decision making about how I wanted to engage, with my husband's daughter. I was like, I'm not trying to be, her best friend. And I'm not trying to be her mom like that, because we're at a different stage in life. I just wanted us to have a really, really good relationship, um, to where there was mutual respect and mutual love, and that I did whatever I needed to do to support her and her family, and that she knew that, that I was here if she needed me, or needed us, and that none of that would change because she was an only girl. And so, as a consequence, she and my husband, they're very close. And so then she had girls, and so we got these grandbabies now. And so I think about how we do life right now with those grandchildren. They have all of their grandparents still alive. And then I'm a bonus grandparent in the situation. And they call me Gigi. And so when and this will trip you out, Christmas time, all of us are together, everybody, my husband's, ex-wife, all the grandparents that are there, we show up, we have pictures together, we all land in the same place, loving on these girls that have connected all of us together. And we've done dinner, we do the holidays. I mean, that's where we spent Christmas. Was it Christmas? Yeah, all together at one of the grandparents' house with all the grandparents there that wanted to be there, and loving on those girls, watching them open their presents. And all I can think about is I had this, and we didn't create drama. We loved. And those girls will only know this life growing up. They will only know that growing up, as, that their grandparents were present, and that their life was good because everybody did their part, not to create friction, but to create joy for them.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I was literally just about to ask you, how has the experience that you had being in a blended family, especially in the way that you experienced it, how did that show up now? And you kind of literally summed it up right there. Like the fact that you all can be in the same space and spend Christmas together with all the grandbabies. Like, I think that is so amazing. And that's a beautiful way to continue to show, number one, that it can happen, that it's possible, but to show these children that they have so much love and that they can be loved unconditionally by everybody. And we're all here. And yeah, I'm sure the kids love it.
Oh, they do.
That's what it's about.
They do love it. They are very privileged in so many respects to have that life. Everybody else is in one location. We live the farthest away. Yeah, we live the farthest away. We're about 2.5 hours from the girls, and but we get them when we can. Like they'll be here, probably sometime, when they have a break, and we get to spend our time and do what we do with them. But they get that from all of them. And so, yeah, they will only know a life at this point where we did life together. We celebrated them. We showed up for them. And everybody was there for them, all because, we were able to make some intentional choices about how we were going to do family and how to do family life. And
That's right.
online. So, yeah.
That's right. Being intentional, very important to be intentional about how you show up for and with these children. Another thing that you said that I thought was kind of like, not to say powerful or interesting, but like you were talking about your mom and how your mom also wanted to be at these events, and she didn't. And yes, she had her moments where she was sad that she couldn't be there, but not to say, I want to be there instead of your mama Joyce. It was like, I want to be there too.
Right.
Right. Like, I want to be there too to support my child. I can't. So not being able to means I can send someone in my space and my place, and know that my child is going to be taken care of. And like I said, every time I think of that and I can visualize that, I think that it's beautiful that you were able to experience such love and have women who were showing you that, like, we can do this. We're not fighting.
No, not fighting. And
We're not fighting.
we are
Mm-mm.
not fighting. We are not fighting. And let me tell you, I can remember other people probably had more issues observing the relationship than they did
That's
actually.
usually how it is. And I'm sure your mom and Mama Joyce and your dad and your bonus dad, I'm sure they all heard the commentary from the crowd. I'm pretty sure because people never hesitate to share their opinions.
They
Like,
share
oh, girl, what you do? Or how can you let that woman come into your house and how you send your I'm sure your mom and
yeah,
Mama Joyce have heard it all. But the
they
fact
have,
that they blocked out the noise and was like, it ain't about us. We doing this for her.
right. Absolutely. Probably the best is going to church together and sitting on the same pew. That
Got
part.
the people talking. What's
Like,
going on over there?
you know, and I'll come and, sit right in between, sit right in between them because it was just no big deal in our world.
Exactly.
But for people on the outside looking in, trying to wrap their minds around how they can even engage, probably the more entertaining part of it at all. But the fact that they were able to still, not let that noise, to the degree that there was any noise, um, impact or influence their ability to get along and to show up for me. And all I can tell you is that it did not matter. They would adjust their worlds. They showed up at school plays, at my graduation, at this event, at this, that, and the third, book signings, everything that I have done that was of significance, they've been able to be there together, or one of them, would be there in place of the other. And it's just been a good thing, for my life. And it's a story I get to tell to people, and they're just like, whoa, hold up. What did you just say? I'm like, yeah, So my friends, they know all of my parents, all of them. Like, they know all of them. And so they've all been able to engage in my world and my relationships with the people that I've developed relationships with. They know them all, and that's really great. That over my lifetime, that they've been able to be connected to those people who have been connected to me, and that they play such a pivotal role and significant role in my life, and even in the ministry that God has blessed me to have, that people know them and they know who they are in my life and what everyone means to me. And so I wish and hope that for absolutely, every person, and that the parents would really, pause, really pause and think about, what do you want your legacy to be in the life of the child you brought into this world? And what type of messaging do you want them to carry forth when they reach, the age that I am, when they look back on their childhood? And do you want to have played a role in tainting how their childhood looks, as opposed to being a source of joy in terms of how their childhood looks? And those would be the things that adults should be asking themselves at this phase. If they're playing any part in shaping what a child's life and their happiness and their joy looks like, they should be questioning long-term damage. Like, what are you doing? Are you harming? Are you creating harm where there'll be long-term hurt or resentment? Or are you doing something to help harness some happiness in their life, so that the the benefits later on is that they'll be reflecting on how good it was, as opposed to, whew, it was rough. I was glad I grew up. Because a child could say that because they know what they've heard and they know what they have seen. And so I'm fortunate that I don't have to look back with any of that, with any animosity. But today, that would be the messaging that I would say to people today, is thinking about what kind of legacy, what kind of imprint do you want to have on your child's life as it relates to this blended family dynamic that you helped to create?
I was just going to ask you, what was the one tip you wanted to leave the people? But it sounds like your tip is for them to think about what imprint they want to leave on their children. You can correct me if I'm wrong. If there was another tip you wanted to give, feel free to give another tip.
No, that is what I'm thinking about. And I really haven't had a lot of time, to to know that that's what the tip would be. But as I reflect on, my childhood, and I reflect on the relationship dynamics that have existed with my parents, I that is a legacy that I will forever be able to have. And it's all because they made choices to preserve that. They didn't know that when they decided, whether intentionally or unintentionally, that they were just going to do life for the good and for the betterment of me, and everyone that was connected to the situation. Like, I don't know that they even out loud said, okay, all right, so my mom and and Daddy Sam's like, okay, we're just gonna make this work here. But I'm sure they had adult conversations because I had to go visit, these other people, right? And or it's like, okay, well, here she comes. Like, what are we gonna do about, like, whether intentional or unintentional, however it played out. But I do know that the fact that I can look back over my life and know that the imprint that they had on my life is a legacy that they created in me, and that it is because they made an imprint on my life in terms of how they chose to bring me up in the world and bring me up into the family dynamics that were created, that is something that I can treasure and that I can always articulate to other people. Because I like, even tonight coming in, I had dinner with a group of my student leaders, and I was like, well, look, guys, I gotta go because I'm getting ready to do this show. And I started telling them, and they were all just losing it. Like, what? Like, that is unreal. And so even with a group of college students, trying to relay that was my experience, they're like, so your mom and your bonus mom are like friends? Huh. That's a lot to wrap your mind around. But it is such a rich legacy that I get to have, that I didn't even think that would be a rich legacy to have, because I didn't know and I didn't understand it. I just know it was what it was. And it has always been like that. And it's even better now because I'm grown, you know.
Right.
But the fact that I could pick up the phone. I know which one to call and tell stuff that will stress them versus not. Like, okay, I can call Mama Joyce and tell her this part because I know she's going to react like this. I can call and tell my mama this part because I know she's going to react like that. And so I have figured out. And then I was like, I don't have to tell my daddies anything. I just need to tell them.
They'll find out later.
Yeah, so I'll tell them.
Oh my God.
That would be the thing. And then the last thing I think that is really important, besides thinking about the imprint and the legacy that you want to have in your child's life, knowing that you've created the blended family, but also asking those hard questions of yourself, like, why and what harm would it mean if I just allowed them, to be able to love and enjoy life with them with no issues from me, no negativity, no harsh feelings, and just really checking yourself. Like, is it pride? Is it insecurity? Is it jealousy? You know, what is it? If it has nothing to do with safety or personal, well-being of the child, then it has to be all these other things that really you can get over and get past.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I love all of that. And yes, listen, if you all heard exactly what she said, that if you're dealing with jealousy, if you can't quite figure out what it is, but you know that there's something stunting you from being able to co-parent easily, more effectively, more positively, I'm here. I'm here to support you. That's what this whole experience is about. I would love to support you. Thank you so much, Dr. Samantha, for allowing me to interview you. I love your story. No matter how many times I hear it, I can hear it over and over again. In my head, like, I can see myself meeting all these people and like what that amazing experience would be like. Like, I could just see all the family. Woo!
Yeah.
What a time. Thank you so much, though, for allowing me to interview you. Please share with everyone all of your social media platforms, and yeah, tell them what's going on.
Well, from a social media standpoint, you can follow me at Prevailing Woman Ministries, which is Prevailing WM on Instagram, and Prevailing Woman Ministries on TikTok, or the Prevailing Woman Ministries Facebook page, or at SWMUREE for Dr. Samantha Murfree. In terms of things that I have going on, I have books coming out. I have been in a writing frenzy this season, and I am super excited. I am republishing one of my books that I wrote in 2018. It's called The Prevailing Woman, and it is a devotional journey, and it is focusing on a woman's journey towards overcoming, conquering, and prevailing. And so that will be out probably in April for the republish. And then I also have a new journal called Prevailing in Purpose. And it is a lengthy book, a free space to write, but it has purposeful scripture on every other page. And it is just focusing on what God's word has to say about your purpose. And that all of those things will be available probably by the time this airs. And then the labor of love. Oh my gosh. I am super excited about these two books, Pray, Slay, and Prevail. Tearing down strongholds, taking our thoughts captive. Pray, Slay, Prevail it comes out of a conference ministry idea that the Lord gave me about 3 years ago. And having said that, this book is about spiritual warfare. It is a devotional journey, a 40-day devotional journey of you looking at how to pray God's word, slay with God's word, and prevail because of God's word. And then it has a companion reflection journal that aligns perfectly with the 40-day devotional journey that you will embark upon. And so I hope that you will look for those. They will be on Amazon for your ordering, or you can probably directly order them from me once they become released. But you can catch me at Samantha at prevailingwoman.org to reach out to me about these publications. And I look forward to being able to share them with the rest of the world.
Congratulations on all of those things. I'm looking forward to Pray, Slay, and Prevail, because listen, there's always going to be a season in people's lives where they need that pray, that slay, and that prevail. There's stuff that comes up in our lives all the time that some of us know how to pray through, and some of us need guidance. And so I think that those everything that you have, all of your journals, your books, are going to be very compelling for a lot of people. It's going to be a blessing to people. And don't worry, people, if you did not get all the information that Dr. Samantha just shared, no worries. They will be in the show notes. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Samantha, for being a guest. And congratulations again on your books.
Thank
and I'm going to just pray us out, if
you.
that's okay.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much for having me. I truly enjoyed it.
All right. So thank you, Lord, for allowing Dr. Samantha and I to have this space, to have this conversation. There were many things that came up to try to block it, and it just didn't happen. God did not see fit for it to happen. The devil continued to try on more than one occasion, but here we are. So I'm just saying thank you, Lord, for allowing this divine connection. I ask that you continue to guide people. I hope that they're able to hear this message and take away from it what they need to take away from it. I hope that it blesses a lot of people. Not that I hope, I know that it's going to bless a lot of people. And I just ask that you cover Dr. Samantha and her family. You continue to guide, keep, and cover them. And I ask all of this in your son's mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much again. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.